Welcome to the Hey Soul Sista podcast, where Mel Histon will guide you through life's big questions and bring you one step closer to doing this crazy journey as best you can.
Hey Soul Sisters, today we are talking about success, or how we can live a fulfilling and successful life according to our own values. And so we have the perfect guest on the Zoom today to talk just about that, the fabulous and soulful Christina Joy. Did I say that right, Christina?
We did. And the good thing is there's breaking news. So thank you for bringing it up, Mel. Thank you for having me here. That Guidotti is going to be retired because Guidotti is the 29-year married name. Speaking about values and soul, great ex-husband, but decided we'd finish that up 6 years ago. So in the next couple of weeks, you're going to see it as Christina Joy more often.
Well, we've heard it here first on Hey Soul Sista. Christina Joy.
There's everything new branding. My surname is Connie Smell. So Christina Joy, Connie says where I was born. My middle name's Joy. And I've always been a bit embarrassed about the name Joy. And it's so funny. And actually my website, my new website all talks about the journey to joy, which is a very soulful way of being and feeling. But, as a little girl, it was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like joy. I mean, who has joy in their name, And so I just kind of put it aside. And then, of course, we often, adopt a partner's name. So when I was 18 and I've been together for 29 years and I sort of adopted the Guidotti, which is a good Italian name, and had two children. I've got a 25-year-old and a 23-year-old. But then when I finished the marriage, which was a bit of soul searching in 2015, probably a little bit painful and quite courageous people have said to me, decision that I made to finish that, then I don't know, it's like, my two books still had Guidotti, and you've got your children, they've got the same sermon, and I think you just leave it, right? But then as the journey went to joy, Mel, I just went, the last couple of years I've gone, I think I'm actually ready to not only retire Guidotti as a name, but actually to embrace my middle name, which is Joy, because at the center of all the work that we do and with leading women and male champions is this kind of core of what I call mojo is joy. So anyway, that was my long way of explaining why I'm moving from Guidotti to Joy, which is probably helpful to some people anyway.
Do you know, absolutely. I remember going through a divorce a long time ago now. It was 18, 19 years ago, and making that decision to go back to my maiden name. And you go, it was one day I was like, boom, I'm ready. And this is it, and it's different for everybody, but I didn't do it straight away, but one day I made that decision and I'm really glad I did. I felt like I found a piece of myself again, which was cool. Yeah.
It's true because identity is something that we often, when you talk about fulfillment in the intro, is that sometimes we can accumulate all of these kind of identities, can't we, as we move forward? Then all of a sudden when things change, whether it be a relationship or a workplace or a home, or even just us stuck in environments with lockdowns and things, is that we can kind of, lose a bit of the true kind of soulfulness of us. And then it takes a little bit, doesn't it? And I love what you said, that all of a sudden you just wake up one day and go, no, I'm ready now. I think that's really perfect, yeah.
Yes. Well, I love that you shared that because you are a real woman of influence. You are a leading expert in Australia on success and belief and conviction. You are the founder of Leading Women, which is a transformational program and event supporting women to achieve success. You're a Telstra Business Award finalist. You're the author of 2 books. Like, you are one amazing woman. So I love the fact that you have been really open and honest about that. Like that. Okay, that inspires other women to really think about what they might do in a similar situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that. And I think I really believe that sometimes successful people make it look easy. And so I think what I love to learn about successful women and male champions is that when you see behind what you and I see, is that there's often a story of some adversity and some pain and some challenges. I don't think many people escape life. I think when you and I walk forward a little bit courageously, I think the fact that people do have some problems and some pain suggests that they are kind of either pushing the boundaries or moving forward. But it can be really, really hard. And I think that for me personally, one of my biggest weaknesses has been self-doubt. So since I was a little girl, my brother is just, he kind of, when I was a little girl, I remember him coming home from school, and those Dr. Seuss books, like they were sort of older books. I'm 53 now, so they were kind of the books that were having. My brother was very articulate, and he was like 60 months old, and he used to read. The cat sat on the mat, and I used to look at him, and instead of me getting a bit jealous or competitive, what I did and what I tend to have done my whole life is I tend to have said, right, they're the best at that, they're the award winner at that. I won't challenge them. So what I'll do is I'll just stay a little bit quiet and dim over here and let them shine there, because I just think they're amazing. And so my whole life has been a little bit of a history of sort of doubting myself. And people often say, but then how come you've achieved this, this, and this? And I say, well, gosh, honestly, when I wrote my first book, I was so embarrassed about putting it out there, because I thought, hold it a second, I was a C student in English, and my brother was the smart one in the family, and all that self-doubt. And there's one thing that I had to learn the hard way, Mel, and it might be helpful to others that might relate to this self-doubt piece, is it's not actually self-belief that's essential to the success in progress or moving forward. For me, I found that it's actually courage. It's courage to walk forward in the face of the self-doubt. So people that I've known that have, like yourself, that have achieved things, move forward, anyone that you and I know that have sort of, appear to be successful, is that I reckon often they've been courageous. And so that's all I've done. I still suffer from self-doubt here and then. I mean, honestly, it helped me write my second book called The True Believers. I tell you, it's nothing like the irony of your expertise, right? Is you go, sometimes what I've failed at, I sucked at it. But I think what it is, if any listeners are sort of thinking, there's something in that for me, because I've always find that challenging or that challenging. I believe that compassion builds when you and I have felt some of the pain. Think about those that help others with domestic violence, and that sometimes people, whether it be verbal or physical, there's no better compassionate person to help support someone than when they have been through something themselves. So thank you for those comments about my success. But I've got to say to you that I think that for a lot of people, it is courage. Also, I'm very blessed because I work with people that are very ambitious around wanting to have a fulfilled life. So my clients are not just wanting the success as far as the money, but they do want that, the positioning, but they do want that. But it's actually they want to have joy, they want to have the fulfillment. And so I think I tend to work with people that kind of, title of my first book, How to Have It All, they want to have it all. You know what I mean? And I sort of say, they go, is it possible to have it all? Does anyone have it all? And they go, well, if having it all is living life according to your values, possibly.
Want to fill your soul with more? Go to thesistercode.com.
Yeah. And do you know what? I suppose everybody has a different view of success. Some people see it as money. Some people see it as achievement or sporting achievement or, career position, whatever. I know a few years ago, somebody said to me, oh, what's your definition of success? And I was like, for me, it's that I have choice, that I have choices. And if I have choices in life, I feel like that's some sort of level of success for me. Do you find that with the women and people that you help and that you mentor, support or coach, that they have different varying views of success, or do you find that most people kind of value similar things?
That's a really good question, and they definitely come in when I first meet them with different ideas of what success is. And often when we think about our parents, so very often, our parents helped us to develop our current idea of what success is, right? But over the years, it can change. So for me personally, and my work that I do, is I tend to talk about success as living life according to our values. And it's in line with what you're talking about. That's all about choice. I remember a particular day that I was sitting in a little coffee shop and I was feeling really uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with you, Christina? I was talking to myself once again. And then I thought, what's wrong with you? And I went, because I'm not really happy. It was one of those times I often ask myself, am I happy? I'm not really happy. And I go, Christina, why aren't you happy? And then I started thinking, well, and then there was times in my life that I thought, I'm actually trying to achieve this thing for other people. In many parts, it was my beautiful dad. I worked with my dad for 15 years in real estate. It's why kind of 60% of my clients are around, real estate principals, real estate salespeople. And I realized that a lot of my energy, Mel, was to kind of make dad proud, to please dad. And it was such a joyful time working with dad. But when I left him at 11 a.m. on the 11th of April, 2011, and I said, Dad, after 15 years, I'm not going to work for you anymore. And he was very upset because he was heartbroken because he thought I would carry on the real estate business. He's an immigrant Greek and he's worked really hard. And then it started to make me see that success is not just the achievement piece where you and I can go, oh, great, we've earned this money, we've bought this house, or we've got this car, but it's actually the fulfillment. And so then I started to develop this body of work that started sort of going, well, how do you live with both? How can you have, and how can your achievement make you fulfilled, and how can your fulfillment be an achievement? And so, for me, it's similar to yours. It's about living life according to your values, which includes taking responsibility, making the right choices.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned a minute ago that you have a lot of people or women from the real estate industry that come to you for mentoring or guidance or coaching. Who else comes to you? Tell us about some of the other women that come to you.
Absolutely. It's all businesses, but it's a woman that the common type of woman that we spend time together with is a woman there's something called a sigmoid curve, which is someone that it's something that happens with our growth, that we start off with an idea, but we tend to, as we walk forward, falter a little bit and struggle a little bit, whether we procrastinate with the self-doubt. But then with some help and some support, we tend to start to reach this kind of maturity or this progress. And so the woman that comes to me, or that I tend to love working with, is someone that's open and someone that can also show their vulnerability. So, and I think a good leader will match that. And so I'll be the first one to say, hey, yeah, this is a challenging piece, but I think we hold them compassionately. I work with women from all sorts of different businesses, but essentially they're leaders that have some sort of business with maybe one staff or 20 staff. They could have an aspiration to own their own business. They could be someone that's transitioning to retirement, but someone that's wanting to lead themselves powerfully. Someone that wants more mojo. So mojo is someone that wants inner peace, personal power, and purposeful productivity. So generally the people that I work with are rushing, they're busy, they've got a really full cup. They could be in any industry, financial services, real estate. They could be a thought leader. So one of my sort of experiences is I've been 10 years in the Thought Leaders Community. That's an educational company where we help clever people to be commercially smart, but essentially help people to build businesses or practices that solve people's problems. So I help speakers, trainers, authors, or people to become authors, mentors, facilitate coaches. So what's kind of fun for me is it's more that a beautiful person will come into my world for some reason. It might be a recommendation or a referral. We'll have a chat and I'll say to them, one of the biggest questions I say to them, Mel, is, what do you want? And they go, well, what do you mean? I go, well, what do you really want? And they go, well, and then things will start to come up. I really want to be financially free. I go, good. I really want to have better relationships. Okay, good. Well, I can help you with that. I really want to change and transition in my work. Great. And so I get a kick out of simply asking the question, what do you really want? What gives you joy? And then we started saying, okay, if that's your vision, what's your current reality? And all my job is to support and guide people to help them solve the problems, to bridge the gap. And I'm a problem solver. Like yesterday, my boyfriend was here. I've got a new boyfriend, 7 months, so far so good.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh, I've been dating for 6 years, and I tell you what I'm really good at. I'm good at letting go. I'm good at not settling. But then, Mel, I've learned that sometimes it's okay to actually stay and hold on if you found someone that's a goodie. So I'm now practicing not letting go. But the other day, my boyfriend's sort of swimmer pants things, board shorts, fell off onto the bottom balcony. And he was trying to work out a way to get them up because the bottom balcony people weren't there, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I go into this like problem solving mode. And I reckon this is key for people that are wanting to move forward, is that how do you get really good at like problem solving? Anyway, so here's me. I got a wine corkscrew thing that had a little kind of pointy arm. And then I got one of those things that the plastic things that clasping together. And then I got an extension cord. So I had it all clasping together. And he said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, "I reckon this is going to work." So he pulled it over the edge. And then the point grabbed the boxer shorts and it brought it up. And he said, "How did you think of that?" And I said, "No, it's just my history of wanting to help people solve problems and help people get good at solving their own problems as well." I said, "Comes," you know what I mean? Because there's something, there's problems ahead for all of us, but it's how do we get good at being quick, at not going into drama and not making it a setback, but to just breathe, going, ouch, that hurts, and then to move forward. For me, I've learned that that's the key.
Let's get soulful on social media. Search the Sister Code Facebook page and follow us on Instagram.
So I'm going to ask you a question, talking about problem solving. For a lot of women, and myself included, and it's not something that I enjoy saying or thinking, but for many of us women, we live in that state of being constantly super busy. And I know that it's almost like busy is almost like a bit of a dirty word right now out in the whole social media realm. How do you solve that problem of being too busy and actually not getting to that point of actually being able to reach that success or fulfill our soul because we're stuck in the busy place? Does that make sense?
Oh, it's such a good question. Thank you for asking that. Like when I talk about mojo, and one of the 3 points is purposeful productivity. So productivity is a huge part of this work that we do. And you're exactly right. When you think about, say, a cup, and our life as a cup, it is overflowing so much, and the more that we see, especially as an empowered woman, the more we see possibility. My beautiful mother never worked outside the home. She worked hard, raising children, raising a family. And all of a sudden, there's this opportunity that we have now, this generation. My daughter is 23. There's opportunity, So what happens is we start to fill our cup with so much more stuff, which makes sense, right? And we're full. It's full. So the very common word, you're right, is busy. I'm so busy. I help my clients not to use that word busy. And exactly what you're saying is that, but the truth is that they are busy when we first start out. It's so busy, it's overflowing, it's overwhelming. But what we want to try and do is one of the 10 productivity kind of tools that we really talk about and try to lean into, and I reckon the best one for us today for this conversation to help and to solve problems is what we want to do is we want to think about our life in either high-value tasks or low-value tasks. It sounds fairly simple.
I'm writing this down, Christina. I'm writing this down.
Good.
High value and low value.
Good. I love that. And so what we want to do is we want to create a list, and we want to walk around our life for about a week, and we want to have 2 lists running. One's called low-value task and one is called high-value tasks. And then what we want to do is whenever we touch something, so I'll give you some examples. I've now got to confirm appointments for my clients for tomorrow. Low-value tasks. We don't do that. I've now got to sweep, mop the floors, iron my clothes. Low-value tasks. I've now got to go and do some particular emails for some marketing to some particular people. Low-value tasks. Now, some of us might be thinking, oh, no, I really like doing that, or it's good for me to do that. Here's why we decide whether it's high value or low value. If you imagine that what we really want to do is to be having more joy in our world and our life, we only want to be doing the work that we really love and that we're really good at. And what we want to be doing is we want to be delegating everything else. So part of the high-value, low-value task is you and I need people in our life, both professionally and personally, that can do low-value tasks. My assistant, her name is Amy, and an incredible woman, lives in Sydney. I used to live in Sydney. She works for me. We've been working together for 6 years. She does all of my low-value tasks. So she books flights, she books accommodation, There's not been a huge amount of flights, of course, the last few years. She sets up my social media stuff and, all sorts of those things. Whereas the high value task for me as a thought leader, and for any of your clients that are speakers, authors, trainers, mentors, our task is to think up the ideas and to deliver them, and also to sell. Whereas anything low value that's administrative, that's the other way of working out what high value and low value is this. If you have an aspiration to, say, earn $50,000 or $100,000 a year, or maybe $1 million a year, what you do then is you go, okay, if I'm going to be earning $1 million a year or $100,000 a year or $50,000 a year, what you do is you get your little calculator out and you go, okay, if I divide that into how many hours I want to work a week, the most alarming thing for us to realize it, say if we want to earn 100,000 and we divide that and say, you know what, I am going to be working maximum 30 hours a week, because I believe the happiest people work part-time. I believe they have a full-time job, but they work part-time hours, right? So
I was just going to say, our team at Got Your Back Sister all work part-time. They all work part-time. And they don't want to work full-time. They just want to work, 2 to 4 days a week.
The happiest people work part-time. Because what it is, my darling, is that, so a Monday and a Friday, for instance, potentially, to say that you didn't work Monday and Friday, could be life admin, setting up, doing that. The Friday could be winding down, getting excited, going out for a girls' lunch or friends' lunch. And, it's like there's no time. If we work full-time, now you might say, yes, but I need to work full-time to earn that much money. And I respect that and I get that. But maybe one of the things that we can work on is to think, all right, how can I get my dollar per hour worth, for however that is? How can I leverage somehow the work that I do? And so what we tend to do is just tend to say, how do we get our dollars up and our hours down? One of the ways to actually work at our effectiveness is to actually start to think, if I can be happier, more peaceful, more productive in every hour, I can get home. I can get home sooner. So your people that work with you on your team that work part-time, is that they're going to be passionate about being as effective as possible in every hour. And one of the ways to do that is everyone's got high value and low value. So my low value tasks are actually Amy's high value tasks. Yeah. And so, and the thing is, we make excuses. One of the other things that we tend to do is we tend to give ourselves reasons why that's not going to work. And the tough love part of today, Mel, is to say we're full of excuses.
And can I just quickly say that what one excuse I hear, and I know that I use, is, oh, can we afford that? And you go, actually, we probably can afford that, but do we want to put money into that? And it's like, actually, because you can't see, or you're not willing to see the cost benefit of doing that.
Absolutely. I one of my roles for people is also to help them to sell, help them to make more money, help them be more positioned so that they can get to this good life. I'm really passionate. A lot of my clients, we're getting them down to only working 4 or 3 days a week. I deliver maximum 3 days a week. And so I've got to walk my talk. So a good mentor will always walk their talk, because they've learned and they've changed things for their own life. And I think that you're right, is that sometimes we can get used to our own excuses, and we've got to kind of, and there's a fun thing that we do sometimes is we do something called a freeze test. And your listeners could do this as a bit of a practice. Is what you do is you walk forward in your day, and several times a day you stop yourself and you say, freeze. Is what I'm doing now leading to the life that I want? Is what I'm doing now a high value task? Is what I'm doing now leading to my vision? And very, very often, now here's another little part of the productivity, probably the 3 that we might talk about today is, one of them is do high value tasks only. The number 2 is results, not excuses, which is what we're talking about. But the third one is, and I'm going to breathe when I say this because some people won't realize they're doing this, is to stay out of drama. So what happens is, very often, now I'm not talking about you sharing with a friend something that's happened to you, something, we talk about someone that might have been, experiencing some sort of domestic violence. We want to hear from you. We want to hear about that. That's not drama. That is the truth. That is something that's going on. But what we want to do is, as we move forward in life, we want to be able to let go of some of the old stories that are no longer serving us, and just be talking about today, what's present, and what we want for the future. So sometimes the three areas of what we call Cartman's drama triangle are either being victim, persecutor, or rescuer. So I talk to my clients and I say, let's start with something that we only are like it's a lovely kind of, I guess it's a kind of like a behavior that we only speak about people in a way that is not derogatory but is celebratory of them. If we're going to talk about someone in a derogatory way, we talk to their face. We say, and we don't talk derogatory, but we go and talk to them about it. We say, hey, listen, what I'm really feeling is when I'm close to you, in relationship with you, I'm feeling like this, and we sort of work with that. So the reason why is that when our cup is overflowing and it's really full and we're busy, drama, which is guilt, shame, victimhood, all of that old stories, can take up 20 to 30% of our whole day, and it takes our energy away. So we have a bit of fun as well, Mel. Like when we're doing mentoring and in the programs, we because none of us are perfect at all, is we can drop into drama really quickly. And so we have this bit of a joke sometimes we do with each other. In love, we sort of do a little triangle and we say, we go like that, and then we sort of almost self-correcting, oh my gosh, I'm in drama, aren't I? Like, oh my God, this happened and this didn't work, and this and I can't believe COVID and I can't believe this. But what it is, the challenge for us is to be gentle on ourselves and to stop ourselves and go, you know what, maybe it's better if I move on from that, and that's a key word with women, is to be gentle, because we're so hard on ourselves, aren't we? We just,
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard on ourselves.
Absolutely, my friend.
Want to save your soul? Review us on Apple Podcast.
Well, Christina, I'd like to ask you, what have you learned about yourself during this whole crazy life journey?
Yeah. Thank you. That's a good one as well. And I did a post on this recently, so it is in the forefront of my mind. So, and it's something that I speak about often. I reckon if there was kind of like 3 life lessons that I've learned, of being kind of an ex-wife, being a single woman, in her 50s dating, being a mum, a single mum, business person, all of that. The things that I've kind of learned that help us to get to joy and more mojo and peace and empowerment, all of that. I reckon there's 3. I reckon the first one is look after yourself. We've heard it all before. It sounds a bit cliche, but I'm talking really look after yourself. I teach what we call a body, mind, and soul routine. And it's a 10-step routine that we do for the first couple of hours, 5 days a week of every morning. And it's kind of something that I've been doing for about 15 years in my life. And people often say to me, I think just little things, they say to me, they give me a compliment, which is lovely, and I appreciate it. They might say, oh, you've got good skin. And I say, oh, okay, thanks. And they go, what are you using? Are you Botox? I said, no, I haven't done that yet. I might do it in the future, nothing wrong with that. But no, I've chosen. And I said, you know what? It's just lifestyle of looking after yourself. And then we talk about how do you get your vibration down? How do you not rush? How do you breathe? Looking after yourself is essentially the number one way. And what that is instead of us getting to work on our businesses, it's get to work on ourselves at the beginning of the day, knowing when to turn off our computers, our emails, knowing when to be present with our families on the weekend. It is not easy, but number 1 is look after yourself. Number 2 is to consider whom you listen and hang with. So the people is important. So family is difficult because sometimes there can be some people that are turning up with well-meaning bad advice but trigger us in family. We've all got them. But the ones that we really do have a choice, work colleagues, friends, definitely partners, there's no reason to stay in a toxic relationship so long as we're taking responsibility. If we're in a harmful relationship, there's incredible helplines that we want to make sure that everyone's got access to, is that there's no reason to stay around toxic people. In 2017, I did 3 divorces. I divorced my 29-year relationship that I felt was turning not helpful to me. I ended a 9-year best friend relationship, a female that I was in a relationship, a friendship with. And I also ended a particular client relationship. And there were 3 major pieces in my life. And that was the consider whom I listen to, because I'm a very strong woman, but I tend to hold people and help them to shine bright. The wrong person can keep me dim. If there's a narcissist or if there's someone that that we can manifest to learn something. So I learned the hard way that to mix with the right, I'm fierce around anyone that walks through my door is only a true believer. Anyone that I have a cup of tea coffee with is only a true believer. And I think we've got to be fierce. The third one is to take responsibility for our life. My dear old dad, strict dad, I had a very strict dad.
Yeah.
Did you have a strict dad?
Sometimes he was the fun dad. He was the fun dad rather than the strict dad. Yeah,
that's good. That we have those fond memories. Well, Dad was strict, but he taught me this whole idea of taking responsibility. Dad was never in drama, right? And so I could have looked at it, and so it was kind of like, "You're going to do this, yes? If not, why not? Come on, let's do it." So he was quite strict, but I think what happened with me is I learnt about responsibility through my dad, and a lot of my work and the teachings are around responsibility, and to help clients to think about how to take responsibility, or your listeners. The first thing to do is to actually say who's responsible for this. And very, very often we can externalize responsibility, yeah? And so we go, it's COVID's fault, it's their fault, it's his fault, it's her fault. And sometimes they have contributed to our situation. But guess what? Everyone is so, I'm going to use quotation marks when I say this because I don't like this word, everyone's busy in their own world. There's a saying that it's none of our business what other people think of us. Most beautiful humans out there, we think we're triggered. They don't care about us. They're not listening to us. They don't like my Facebook post. I still sometimes go and see who liked my post because sometimes I suffer from self-doubt. And I go, Christina, you're a strong, empowered woman. It doesn't matter what other people think. But we've always got to keep ourselves in check and go, you know what? I'm responsible for creating the whole of my reality. And then just move forward powerfully. I always think that people often say, oh, you're successful, you've done this. And I go, no, actually all I am is courageous. And I really believe that if you and I can just go forward together and just think, you know what, that scares me. Like that no or that rejection. Like I work with a lot of women that are single, that are looking for love again. And I like to help them to move forward in the dating area. And I do believe that every single relationship that we have, it's so healthy to teach us something about ourselves and then to form a list of soulful values, around what is really important to us in relationships. Eventually, I believe that we start to manifest that right man or woman in our life that we want to have an intimate relationship with when we are living that ourselves. And so I think all of these things that we move forward with, it takes work to work on ourselves. And that's to the point you said around self-leadership at the beginning. We talked about, for you and I to be a really good leader, because we want to, you want to lead people, I want to lead people, we want to live our best life. We can't ignore the self-leadership piece, which so people come to me and say, Christina, how do you help me sell? How do you help me make more money? And I go, hold on. Yes. And what are your personal practices? Who are you hanging with? Are you looking after yourself? So I love that to be almost like a bit of a one-stop shop for our conversations, not just making money, not just business. The business will come better and faster and deeper when we're looking after ourselves. You can hear the compassion and the passion in my voice, right? Like you ask me these questions, it's like I have all this conviction when you ask me these questions, and thank you for having me on.
Well, Christina, you are amazing, and so much good stuff. I've been writing notes while you've been talking for myself. Important. How can people find out more about you or find out more about your programs? Because I'm going to look you up myself as well.
Look, you're probably safe to start looking at Christina Joy. That's my new handle now. So on Instagram, if you just go to Christina Joy, I'll come up there. So that's already started to change over from Guidotti to Joy. But the new website will be up in about 2 weeks. So at the moment, it's ChristinaGuidotti.com. But in about 2 weeks, it's ChristinaJoy.com.au. So just my name and you'll find me and you do a search there. A lot of the work that I do is one-on-one mentoring, but also there's a lot of stuff that we do that's group, which is lovely too. It's a little bit more affordable for people in the group, so that I do what we call a mojo program twice a year. So we do it in September, October, November, and we also do it in February, March, April. So there might be something that your listeners might be interested in having a look at there.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on Hey Soul Sister. You're amazing. You have just just so giving and wise, and I'm going to be looking you up myself because I'm really interested in your programs and your mentoring. So thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Hey Soul Sista with Mel Histon. What would help you on your crazy life journey? Email Melissa at thesistercode.com.